Dylan was a second-year architecture student at a well-known Midwestern university. That semester, he had overloaded on credits and was completely buried in a final design project. Most students on his floor had already left, but he was staying the final 3 nights to finish everything before driving home. His dorm was on the 6th floor of one of the older halls, the kind with long, dim hallways, humming exit signs, and ancient vents that always seemed to breathe. The first knock came at 12 a.m. sharp. He was at his desk, headphones in, hunched over sketches. It startled him. 3 knocks, solid and slow. Knock, knock, knock. He froze, took off his headphones, waited, then stood and peered through the peephole. No one. He opened the door and looked both ways. Empty hallway. Not a soul. He thought maybe it was a prank. Finals week brought out all kinds of weird behavior. The next night, he made a mental note of the time. As the clock neared midnight, his focus shifted from AutoCAD to the door. 12 a.m. Knock, knock, knock. He leapt up this time, opened the door immediately. Nothing. He checked the hallway cameras the next day by asking the floor RA, who was also a friend. The RA looked uneasy. Bro, I looked at the timestamp you gave me. No one walks by your door at midnight. In fact, you know what's weird? The system glitches for 5 seconds every night at exactly 12 a.m. On the 3rd night, Dylan set up his phone to record the hallway through a crack in his door. At 11:58, he started the recording. 11:59, silence. His room felt colder than usual. He even checked the windows. Then, 12 a.m., knock, knock, knock. He let it record for another minute before rushing to his phone. He watched the footage. The knocks were there, but no one was in the hallway, not even a shadow, but something was caught, a flicker, a weird blur, like static in a single frame. He showed it to the RA again. The RA turned pale. You're in 617, right? That room, I think it used to be Liam's. Liam was a student who had died the previous winter break. Officially, it was hypothermia, but there were rumors that he wandered the halls delirious, that he knocked on every door asking for help, but no one answered. When Dylan packed up and left that morning, he left the door slightly open, as a kind of offering. As he turned the corner toward the elevators, he heard it again. Knock, 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 but this time it came from inside the room. Sarah was a junior at a quiet liberal arts college in the Northeast. Her dorm was an old building that used to be a nunnery back in the 1930s. Narrow hallways, creaky floors, and room numbers etched into thick wooden doors. She had spent the entire evening in the campus library, finishing an annotated bibliography. She didn't leave until well after 1:45 a.m. By the time she reached the dorm, she was barely keeping her eyes open. Her room was 407. She reached her floor, turned the corner, and saw the door crack slightly open. She assumed her roommate had returned early and left it open for her. Sarah pushed the door open, walked inside, and closed it behind her. The room was dark. She didn't even turn on the light, just dropped her bag and kicked off her shoes. Then she heard it, a whisper, low, raspy, "Don't turn around." She froze. Her eyes adjusted to the dark. Something was off. The posters were wrong. The smell, sour, musty. She turned anyway. No one. But the desk was covered in photos, printed images, and they were all of her, walking to class, sitting under the tree by the library, even one from inside her dorm room. Her heart pounded. She fumbled for the light switch. Nothing. She pulled out her phone and turned on the flashlight. That's when she saw the camera hidden beneath the desk. A webcam pointed at the bed, still recording. Terrified, she ran out. The RA and security came within minutes. That's when they discovered she had entered room 409. Not 407. 409 was supposed to be unoccupied. The student who lived there left mid-semester for personal reasons. Inside the closet, they found a sleeping bag, rotting food, and receipts for takeout, all paid in cash. There was also a small notebook. Inside were daily logs. Saw her again today. She smiled at me. She left her window open. I watched her study. She will be mine. The last entry read, "She's late tonight. I hope she comes in." Sarah changed dorms the next day. She never found out who had been staying in 409, and the school quietly sealed that room for maintenance. But late one night, months later, she received a DM on Instagram. No profile picture, no name, just a message. "I liked you better in the dark." Marcus was a graduating senior at a huge state university. His dorm had a tradition, a final week blowout party called the Last Light. The entire basement was turned into a makeshift nightclub. Black lights, strobe lamps, a hired student DJ. The party had started around 9 p.m. By 11:30 it was packed. Sweat, music, bodies bouncing. But Marcus had a weird feeling the whole time, like he was being watched. The DJ was someone no one recognized. Pale kid, silent, just nodding along, but he played banger after banger. At 12:01 a.m., the music stopped. Everyone groaned. Then, over the loudspeaker, a voice played. It was Marcus's own voice. "They're coming for me. I know they are." He was confused. He had never said that. Then a laugh. Not his. Then silence. Everyone stood frozen. A girl in the crowd said, "Turn it back on, bro. Not funny." The lights went out. Panic. People rushed for the doors, but they were jammed. A red light began pulsing from the back of the room. Then that same voice again. "They're already here." Marcus tried to climb out a window and blacked out. When he woke, it was morning. The basement was spotless. No trash, no DJ booth, no lights, no speakers. He checked his phone. No pictures, all deleted. He texted friends. No one remembered a DJ. No one remembered the voice. He thought he was going crazy. Until the graduation ceremony, as he walked across the stage, he looked up into the crowd. In the back row was the DJ, pale, grinning. And when he turned to get his diploma, there was a note taped to the back. It read, "You shouldn't have tried to leave." Marcus never went home. His dorm room was found still packed, his car in the lot, but his bed, unmade and cold. Kevin was staying an extra week after finals ended because he'd signed up to help with summer orientation setup. Most of the dorm was empty by then, with only a handful of other student volunteers on different floors.
The dorm had a fire exit staircase at the far end of the hallway. It was locked from the outside, but could be opened from inside in case of emergency. Kevin noticed something strange during his first night alone. Someone was using that stairwell.
He'd hear faint metallic creaks at night, like footsteps on metal stairs. But when he peeked out, the door would always be closed. On the second night, Kevin heard it again around 2:13 a.m. This time, it was followed by a knock on the fire door. Just one. Sharp. Then silence. He texted the group chat of other volunteers. One replied, "I heard it too last night, thought it was you." He decided to investigate the next morning. The door was thick metal, painted red, with a wire-reinforced glass panel. He pressed his face to it and looked down the stairwell. All he could see was darkness. He went down a few steps. His phone flashlight flickered. Then he noticed something carved into the wall. Right near the third step, it read, "Kevin, don't go past this step." He froze. No one knew he had gone into the stairwell. No one was even awake. He ran back up. That night, he kept his dorm door locked and the lights on. At exactly 2:13 a.m., he heard it again. Knock. Then the sound of the fire exit door slowly creaking open. He held his breath. Heavy footsteps moved down the hall. Not fast, not slow, just deliberate. They stopped outside his door. Silence. Then, a slip of paper slid under. Kevin waited an hour before grabbing it. It was a photo, old, black and white, of a dorm hallway that looked just like his. Only the door numbers were wrong. Instead of 201, 203, and 205, they read 1, 2, 3, and standing at the end of the hall was a man. Blurred, head tilted. Kevin reported it. Security searched everything. No one found anything unusual, but Kevin checked again the next night. This time, there were scratch marks on his door, 3 vertical gouges, and another note, this time taped to his window from the outside. It said, "You passed the step." He didn't sleep, didn't even pack. He left the next morning, dropped out of orientation, found an off-campus apartment for the next semester. He never found out what was at the bottom of the stairwell, but sometimes when it's very late and everything is quiet, he still hears that single, sharp knock. Dorms are supposed to be a home away from home, but when they empty out, when the lights go dim, when the last paper is turned in, something else moves in. Something old, something patient. Would you stay alone in a dorm building during finals week? Would you ignore the knock? Would you turn on the light? Let me know in the comments. And if you want more stories like this, you know what to do.